Sorry. Here we go. Yo,
Oh, yeah. Let's put a smile on my face.
right now we back to it. You know what I'm saying? I'm seeing it over here on this side. I got the up to it side working, so that's good news.
Okay.
But Pop, let's tell them what we're talking about today, because we about to get her real.
Yeah, I mean, I think we got some different viewpoints, maybe on this, or some thoughts, and guess kind of want to get people's feedback a little bit too on how they're feeling and thinking about just some of the things that are going on out there, right? And when we talk about things from a mental health perspective, and we talk about things from parenting, and so I guess what Z and I are doing this live is giving you a little bit of an insight and how some of our conversations have gone through the years. So we're just gonna have a conversation. One of the things that we were talking about and touching on, Z and I, was the this whole idea, because one of the things that I was telling Z about was the notion of people misunderstanding when we talk about mental health, and why we think it's important for people to understand that they have mental health, and what are the strategies to deal with mental health challenges on a day-to-day basis. And some of the feedback that I've seen out there in the world is that people misinterpret it as being weak, or that we may be preaching that people can't overcome or should not deal with challenges. And that's not the case. When we talk about mental health, we're talking about that people need to embrace and endure those challenges that happen in their lives, but that we also need to help them have tools to cope with those challenges. And sometimes that may mean taking a breather for a second, or stepping back. And so by no means when we talk about it, are we saying that it's an excuse to not do something or not go through anything that might be hard. So just wanted to make that clear, like when we talk about it, and what it means to us and for us, and when we're sharing with people, because life is hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to happen. You can't escape, shouldn't run from it. And so when we talk about life being hard, we're going through some challenges as a nation, right? And there's a lot of things that are happening that will impact us individually, and impact our families, and impact our communities. And we've just been hearing about a lot of cuts to staffing situations with federal government agencies.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something you wanted to talk a little bit about.
Yeah, 100%. I think one of the biggest things that's been brought up to our attention has been the cutting and the abolishment of the Department of Education, and just the misunderstanding of what the Department of Education actually is and what it isn't, right? And I think there is a lot of people that are gung-ho about the president's decision to cut and abolish this entity, because they believe that this is the entity that controls curriculum and controls what's being taught in classes for all states throughout the nation. And that right there is a misunderstanding of what the Department of Education is, right? We know that the Department of Education isn't in charge of curriculum at all. Those in charge of the curriculum are the states. The states get to decide what gets implemented into their public schools and their charter schools and stuff like that, of what needs to be followed in the guidelines. So that's already controlled by the state. And one of the things that we talked yesterday that I keep hearing is that the other argument is, well, people kept, every time I talked to somebody about high school, they said, dang, I wish I would have learned about that in high school. I wish they would have taught that in school. So I'm glad that the Department of Education is getting cut, because now we can reimagine what the Department of Education looks like, or something along those lines. And you said something that was interesting to me yesterday. You said something. Now, I'm not going to quote you word for word, but it was like, well, you don't know what you want to learn until you need to learn it, right? Until you have that skill. But the reason why we want to focus on this, and why this cut and the wording is abolishing or dismantling of the Department of Education, is because I believe, I won't speak for my dad, I believe that it could potentially lead to more harm than good for our students that are low income, that don't have access to the same resources. So Pop, that's really where,
Yeah.
with all of that, what is your
Yeah, I think so. I think, yeah, the Department of Education holds a lot of responsibility. And I think from what I understand, and, people are going to put in the comment and help, but is the Department of Education came about to help with kind of basically leveling the playing field across the nation, as far as setting guidelines and standards in which states and school districts should follow and adhere to, so that everybody was basically trying to have the same goal. With eradicating or getting rid of Department of Education, that changes, right? So now one state can do it one way, another state can do it another way, the other state's going to do it that way. So that can create a gap in what learning needs to actually occur. So what are the standards? The standards that'll be set in Arizona will be maybe different than the ones in Mississippi or Chicago or Atlanta or New York or Connecticut. And so and then also, they also help with the money that goes into that. So point being, like, Arizona is the 49th out of 50th, is 49 on the as far as funding for education.
right?
Arizona. So I don't know. I mean, we get money, but I mean, the question is, how's our state going to fare? Will it do better? I don't think so, but it may. In sharing what or how monies are dedicated towards education. And so, when we look at the rural areas throughout our nation, our state's going to want to put more money into that. But at least with the Department of Education, it was saying that, hey, we're going to give you a fair shake at this, and have some type of standard that you have to meet. So that just goes to the point of, again, I think certain states then making a decision of where that falls for them as far as importance, in addition to all the things they have. I am a little nervous about that. And I think a point that, you made is, then if states have it upon themselves to decide what is taught and what is not taught, again, there's no national standard or
national accountability,
right? Some states, I think you were saying, like, might say, hey, we're not going to talk about the history of Black folks whatsoever. And then there might be others that lean more into it.
Well, I think you bring up a good point too, with the whole now DEI initiative being taken away. Now there is no accountability for, because what could have been the argument maybe 2 months ago was, okay, well, if you want to learn about Mexican history, Mexican American history, go take the Mexican American history class instead of taking this U.S. government class. But now that's not even an option for students. Now, when in whatever the state decides, it's you're learning this, and this is how you're going to learn it, right? There's no variety or diversity of messaging for people that maybe need to know more about that history.
Yeah.
And, you know, I want to really state, because we are the parenting, mental health, drug prevention crew, you know. And I think one of the things that people don't really understand is that also the Department of Education, we're funding those with IEPs. Tell me what the definition, do you know what IEP stands for?
I forget right
Intensive,
now.
intensive,
Individual
yes. Individual
plan.
education plan,
Thanks,
educational
plan.
program plan. So with that, we were able to hire a lot more support for students that had learning disabilities, had ADD, ADHD, OCD, dyslexia, all of those things. Speech therapy. The reason why I want to harp on that one a little bit is because I benefited from having access to that, right? I benefited from having access to speech therapy at a young age, and that was something that was transformative for me as a youth. So when we talk about dismantling and abolishing, we really have to understand what are the consequences of this. Is it, and I don't know, Dad, this might be challenging for some parents to hear, but is it because you're uncomfortable with the realness of the conversations now? Are you uncomfortable with us talking about the realities of life today? And if you are uncomfortable with that, that isn't something you take out on other children, other people's children, right?
Right.
I laugh because the reason why this is kind of comical is because some of the people that are voting against this or that are happy that this happens have no youth in the education system right now. They're retired, they've done their thing, they had access to some of these resources because they were around.
Right.
But man, it's upsetting because I feel like those people, the older folks, have been putting our younger folks in situations that are super unhealthy.
Right. And I think the other thing that I got to do some more research on, again, we're talking about this live right now. I haven't had an opportunity to really dive into it as much as I would like to, but there was a reason that it was established, the Department of Education. There was a reason that it came about. It wasn't just that it just happened. There was something that occurred that our nation recognized that, hey, this is something that we need. And so, again, what we tend to do, talk about education, is not knowing our history and end up making the same mistakes again, because we don't know our history. We just look at it from where we're standing now and say, oh, no, that's good. Let's just, reduce government, but not fully understanding, well, why was this put in place? And so there was a reason for that. And I think we need to be cautious, because in furthering the gap between the haves and the have-nots, I think the Department of Education was trying to help minimize that, not be able to solve it, but at least minimize it, because we are going to need educated folks across our nation to be a great nation.
That's so good.
Equally.
I love that.
There should be no difference between Georgia, North Carolina, California, Michigan, or Idaho. There should be a standard that we're all trying to reach so that we can be a great nation, or continue to do so. And I don't think we understand the unintended consequences in doing this. I don't think we've had a conversation about it as a nation of what does it really mean to cut this. And it's just coming kind of out of left field. I don't think I've heard anybody on the campaign trail ever talk about really getting rid of, other than Trump, that just came out this last 6 months, 8 months or whatever. It's like, wait, why are we talking about this or whatever? And so that's this
Well,
That's my thought and concern. Just the
I,
gap.
I love that you bring that up, right? Because there's a cool skill that we have access to now in 2024, 2025, in the 2020s, right? Where in a day of information, we were laughing yesterday because we were talking a little bit about this, but we're music fans here, and my dad was like, back in the day, KRS-One would the rapper would say, open up a book, read about your history, learn about your history, go to the library, hang out in the library. Now, fast forward to 2025, if you want to answer to something, you know how quick you can plug it into the Google, and Google is free, y'all. Like, and I don't say that to be condescending. I don't say that to be like, but it's like for real, like use the resources here that are handed to you. One of the biggest, newest resources. And while you were talking, you wanted to know, why was the Department of Education created in the first place, right? I plugged that into ChatGPT. That's what I did. And here's what it said. It says to centralize the strength of federal education support. To centralize and strengthen the federal education support, to improve the quality of education. Its goal was to elevate the importance of education nationwide, collect data on schools, identify what works, and help and improve outcomes for all students, especially those in underserved communities. And then
I'm pretty smart.
You know a little something.
I am ChatGPT.
And then you hit it on the head with the finishing touch, because you said to promote equal access to the same education, so that it wasn't, let's be real. We can't right now, a lot of us cannot get up and move to a different state. If the education's bad, you first have to find a job that maybe aligned with that you followed to that state. You would have to leave some family behind. It's a lot more sacrifice, right? Yeah. And sometimes, if it boils down to it, I know some of you will have no problem making that sacrifice. But what about those parents in rural communities? And I love that you brought up rural communities, because I get to spend a lot of time in these rural communities. And with that, you notice the disparities in that versus somebody else. And they tend to get overlooked because of whatever prejudice, whatever idea we have of rural communities. But if they want their kid to go to college and get an education, and they want them to perform well, it's harder for those parents or guardians, because some of these people in rural communities, they're being raised by their grandparents. And that's honest, right? Or they're being raised by a single family member.
And some are not. But
some are not. But I don't know the numbers, and I could probably pull up the numbers if I wanted to. But they can't just pick up and go. It's not as easy as people make it seem, especially now, where you need. Right. And on top of that, when you want to move to a different city or state that has better education, the cost of living is going to be higher, right? Because now we're going to have to tax heavy property taxes for whatever reason to fund public education as a whole, or whatever that may look like. I don't know what the schooling will look like if this does actually happen, but I can imagine the parent stress that comes with that. And they're already stressed out already. I can imagine the student uncertainty when it comes to that. So maybe operating in fight, flight, or freeze mode more frequently. So is this really going to benefit us in the long run? And we already are in a youth mental health crisis and an epidemic as we speak. So are we doing them a disservice by putting this more on them and on their plate?
Yeah, no, I think it's I think there's more to come on it. And again, the other thing that you kind of mentioned at the beginning that needs to be realized is this is an executive order. And it is meaning that it's kind of a test. I don't think any president that I'm aware of has done as many executive orders to dismantle, take apart, get rid of federal agencies through executive orders. This is not a law. It'll still have to go through Congress. But while this presidency is occurring, it will have to take effect. And so we'll get to see what this does. And it's almost like a live experiment in real time that it could be dangerous. And in order for us to continue to be a great nation, I think we might be taking away some of the scaffolding that helps us to be so. And at least trying to at least maintain some type of equality nationwide, a standard. Are people hitting it? No, but at least it's a goal, right? In which was being set. I mean, with no goal, you don't know where you're going. And yes, there's tons of things that could probably be done better, always in any business, in any family. So it does make me nervous, extremely, of what this will do. And there's nothing we can do about it. So we just have to roll with it, and maintain our sanity and our and I think, again, when we talk about mental health, like I opened up in the beginning, is not saying that we're not going to go through difficult challenges or times in our lives, but what is it that you're going to do to make sure that you're maintaining some type of equilibrium? Is that remaining positive? Is that making sure that you have, words of affirmation for yourself, for your family, for your friends? Is it making sure that, you take a moment to breathe? Maybe it's taking a moment to step away from social media. Maybe it's taking a minute to not read the news. Maybe it's some, journaling, and checking in with your, your emotions and where you're at, which actually reminds me, there's an app that you all should check out called Brighton, that actually does that as far as maybe journaling or keeping track of your emotions and where you're going, and being able to document how you're feeling, and being also able to connect and get feedback from this particular app, that could give you some pointers or some ideas or some tips or suggestions on, what you could do if you're feeling a certain way that are positive. Mm-hmm. And that app's called Brighton. We'll drop that information in the in full transparency. Yes, we are partnered with them, but we won't believe that this is a tool that can help many people out there, in being able to support their mental health, because it is important. And so that's what I would want to say about where we are now. We're in these times where there's a lot of experiments happening, and for good or not, it's just where we're at. But we need to have a standard.
Yeah. I like it. I like how you summarized and wrap us up there. I think, in summary, for me, it's having conversations like these, right? And I think that's, we can't do anything from we can't go up to the White House and do and do whatever and make them change their mind, whatever, right? We can't. That's out of our control. But what is our control is to be in community and to continue to educate people in love, right? And I think that's what we were talking about yesterday. It's easy for me and it's easy for my pop to get up on this platform and on this live stream and tell you just how idiotic and stupid everybody is that voted for this to happen and whatever. But the second you say that, right? The second you say that, it makes somebody defensive. It makes them, I don't want to learn. I don't want to hear your side. I don't want to hear your perspective. And I know, I get it. It's tiring because it seems like you're reiterating things, and it seems like it's never gonna fix itself or resolve itself. But you never know. You never know what that one tidbit of information can go and how far it could go for that person. So that's what we're gonna do here at Up to It. That's what we're gonna do as a family. Is we're gonna continue to have and lean into our tougher conversations where sometimes me and my dad, I mean, you can kind of sometimes see it in some podcasts, but we don't see eye to eye on everything. And he challenges me as I challenge him, but it's always in love. It's never out of spite. It's trying to see his perspective. It's him trying to see my perspective. So what I challenge adults and parents and guardians that are in this live today is ask your youth, how do you feel about what's going on right now? Because you might be like, oh, they're kids, they don't know what's going on. But the second they have access to the World Wide Web and social media and TikTok, they're seeing these things.
Mm-hmm.
So get a pulse from your child. Hey, how do you feel about this? What do you know about this? And lean in to that uncomfortable conversation where, you know, my pop and my mom have both been honest with me when maybe I proved them wrong. And they've been very like, you know what? I didn't see it from that perspective. And hey, you know what? I did some more research on that. And it turns out, you know what? I get it now. And that takes some humility and that takes some strength and vulnerability. But when you're able to do that and show that to your youth, it allows them to know that, oh, it's okay to be wrong. And it's okay to change your perspective on things when you get the proper education and resources around you. So that's what I challenge our parents to do. If you are an Up to It parent or guardian, I challenge you to lean into that uncomfortable conversation. And our whole thing, right, is tough conversations for stronger connections. Because that's what can come out of it. And with that being said, again, please sign up for Brian right now. Mental health is so important with all the things that are going on. So I'm gonna reiterate what my pop said. It's such a great app. I use it every day. Wake up, I do the mood check-in. And like my pop said, we are affiliated with the brand. So yes, if you do use our code and stuff like that, we do get a percentage and a kickback of whatever. But man, we wouldn't partner with a brand if we thought it was going to steer you in the wrong direction. Let's just be honest. We vouched for this. We had the CEO, Jeff Johnston, come on our podcast, and he talked to us about it. And even closed doors, he's just somebody that believes in Up to It as much as we believe in Brighton. So with that being said, man, we up here in the 30-minute mark. We had a whole lot of people join the live. You can't see it on your end, Pop, but I see it on my end. We had about like 15, 20 people show up for our first one. So hey, we got to clap it up for that. That's pretty good for the first one. Hey, you know what I'm saying? We did pretty good. What? Next time we'll have our technical stuff down pat, and we'll be able to
producer back there.
Right. So we're gonna do it up like that. But yo, it's March Madness, and don't forget, you know, the boys got a game today, and I see you wearing the blue already. I see you. I like it. So we bear down over here. Hopefully a national championship would be nice. I don't know. I'm gonna out you because real quick, I looked at your brackets and the family bracket thing. You did not pick one love bracket for U of A. You don't have U of A at least in one bracket winning the championship.
Yeah, they ain't quite ready. I love them. But you know, they missing some pieces. But next year we.
I had to out my pocket. I looked out actually, and my mom's didn't even pick one. Usually, what happens in these family brackets is my mom and dad at least have one bracket that they dedicate to the U of A winning. And this year they decided to.
What had happened was I've been working on 3 different grants, and I'd had time, so I had to do the auto pick.
Oh, truth comes out. The
autofill, so I didn't really have time to sit down and mastermind my pick. So I wanted to make sure I had an opportunity to get bragging rights in the family bracket pool. So sorry, U of A, but hey, I love y'all. Y'all know I'm down with y'all.
Man.
All right, man, we got to get out of here.
Yeah, we're going to get up out of here, man. We hope y'all have a great rest of your day, and we're going to get out of here. Peace.